Analog tuning, yeah, okay. So I talked about those knobs. If you've just got a keyboard, and one of the examples uses uppercase, lowercase to tune a value, and then print it out, so that way you can change like how big those ellipses were. You can change FFT sensitivity, brightness, or whatever else you want to change. So that's one way. That's the easiest way to do that if you've got a keyboard. Use MIDI knobs. Things you can tune. Every projector has a different brightness, and every environment has a different ambient light level. So you want to be able to set the brightness and of your processing output. So every draw command you have, it pays to multiply your fill colors and your stroke colors by some floating point value. Even if this ramps stuff up past the top, sometimes your environment is just too dark, and you've got to get things bright enough that they can be seen. Sensitivity of input sound. So if you don't have one of these, and these are cheap, it's less than $100. If you don't have a volume knob that you can turn to change how loud your input is, then you may be stuck with very quiet input. And so if you can change, if you can just amplify, your array of FFT values in code, then you don't have to have an external volume to get away from that. So that's another nice thing that's nice to tune in the direct input parts. Reactivity, there's a damping function on the inputs with the examples we use. So how quickly your FFT bars swing into the new value. That's a nice thing to tune. But this is all kind of controls and infrastructure and framework stuff. The thing that's really interesting to tune is the softer aspects of what you're doing when it's not like firing a drum beat. So the classic example here that I like is changing the color palette. I have a slider on one of my MIDI control surfaces that changes the color palette of what's being drawn. So if things just shifted into a minor key, I can slam things to the bottom, and it's all blues, and it's like sad, somber, bluesy, look to everything. And if it goes hot, if the music, if it hits that metaphor, if it shifts up, then I go to a nice fiery palette, and it does that. It's bright, and it's red and orange and colorful. So, like that's when I'm talking about these soft characteristics, these human detectable characteristics, this is a great, this is something that you should put into performance pieces, because if you're not making something for a specific song or a specific artist, you don't know how upbeat or crazy it's going to be. Okay, so really, this is really quick stuff. So we'll go to the code walkthrough in just a second. We'll start with keyboard input. I've got an example that just does the drums thing, and tuning for lowercase, tuning effects. Oh yeah, sorry. There was another thing I wanted to talk about. With direct control, if you run the same effect for longer than 30 seconds, people can get bored. So what really helps is if you have different effects that you can turn on and off, and different things you can show people, and even if you're just layering effects on top of each other, or other things on top of each other, this is really hot. So a nice way to do this is to take the rows. Now this is a QWERTY layout. I have a Dvorak thing, so I actually have to look at a different keyboard for this, but if you like turn on and off different background effects, or you choose different background effects with like the QWERTY line of keys, and the ASDF GH line of keys is your like mid-ground effects that are in front of that. So if you hitting those keys, you turn the thing on and off. Then you have post stuff. This is just an example. Post stuff with the bottom layer. It's a really intuitive way to turn different layers of things on and off, and like after every chorus or after every line, you can change some little thing. And this keeps people's attention. And if the song is building up layers, then you can build up layers. If the song is tearing down layers, you can tear them down. If the song just went solo on one track, you can really quickly turn everything off and go solo. So this is a really great sort of system to use to multiply out what you've made. That's all you really need. So let's look at an example. Maybe open this up. Oh yeah, so quickly, any questions before we get onto the code about theory of like inputs, joystick devices, MIDI devices, anything else with that? No questions?